That's what you do.
John Wilkerson joins us. He's the voice of the BaseVols. First pitch at 5 p.m. right here on the Zone in the Super Regionals against Notre Dame. John, to that point, what Ryan Cole's comment there, is that bulletin board material? What was it he was supposed to say in that situation from you? Did you read anything into him saying that?
Well, I would just go with the fact that you could just kind of keep it vanilla. And at the same time, I also understand what is he supposed to say, because it's almost like when you ask somebody, are you the best quarterback in the conference or in the league? More often than not, you're just going to get something that's very confident in terms of a reply. But, the scared one is, just the comment using scared is something that is going to be made into something. And so I do think that they would probably do the same thing if a Tennessee player had said something identical. I just think that anything you can use for fuel, you're going to use for fuel.
Mm-hmm. It sounds, the answer to me reads like he doesn't even really know how to answer the question because he knows how strong the Vols actually are. So he's like, I think we're very dangerous. Like he can't even point to specifics right there. It almost reveals in that moment Notre Dame knows the challenge that's ahead of them.
Notre Dame has been up to the challenge, though, in some instances. Now, they are 10-8 on the road, but 3 of those wins came at number 5 Florida State. It was their first road sweep of a top 5 team in their program's history. On the other hand, they got swept at Louisville and they got swept at Duke. So it'll be interesting to see how it comes together. Notre Dame is really good, like Tennessee is, when it comes to limiting what their opponent does in the batter's box. And so I think the key tonight for Tennessee is the opportunity to perhaps get the bats going and get them going early. I do think it's interesting that Notre Dame is going to pitch its ace tomorrow as opposed to tonight. But this is what they went through in Starkville last year, as Mississippi State had to take Game 3 against the Irish to get to the College World Series, which the Bulldogs eventually won. So I think that Notre Dame is looking at, okay, we throw all of our – they try to get Game 1, obviously, but if they don't, then they have their ace going Game 2, and then that leaves their very talented freshmen to perhaps start Game 3 if we get there.
As far as that goes with them pitching their ace on Saturday, the hitting. Tennessee, as of late, has gotten behind early when it comes to, the early parts of the game for them. Will they be able to come back on a team like this? Are you confident in their hitting when it comes down to them having a better bullpen than any team they've seen so far?
Tennessee's been really strong, Ramon, when it comes to just wearing down an opponent. Now, there have been those instances where they didn't get them going. I mean, you jump out to a 2-0 lead against Tennessee Tech. They come back, the Golden Eagles do, and win in that wooden bat game they played at Smoky Stadium. It's really weird. Tennessee has there's only one game this year in which Tennessee has not had the lead at some point in time, and that was Game 2 when they lost the series at Kentucky.
Yeah.
So you just like the way that this attack 1-9 is going to at some point in time get the upper hand. The question will be to what degree, and can you get into the bullpen? And if you get into the bullpen against Notre Dame, to the Irish credit, they aren't just hard fast where you're in this role as a starter or you're in this role as a reliever. They've got 7 different pitchers that have saves this year, including guys that have started games. So I do think they've got a head coach that realizes, hey, this pitcher might be the best for this particular matchup, and so they'd send him down to the pen. And so for that reason, I do think that this is going to be a really neat chess match. And it's something that's taken place before, because before Notre Dame's coach became the coach in South Bend, he was at UNC Greensboro, and they squared off in a series in Knoxville in year 2, I believe, for Tony Vitello. So they're familiar with one another, and they know that there are going to be a lot of pieces moving around. But I do think that for Tennessee, they did struggle in falling behind 4-0 to Campbell and 4-0 again to Georgia Tech. And something that kind of reared its ugly head, but it has not been an issue, is that Tennessee defensively kind of opened the door for both deficits. And to me, that would be an area that you're not listed as a concern, but this is just where Tennessee didn't perform up to what has been their own standard this year, is that I think they have to be sound defensively, not to give a team like Notre Dame the opportunity to grab a lead, because this might be one of the better pitching teams they've faced all year long, and they might be able to take a lead and manage it either deeper into the game or even across the finish line.
As far as the coaching in this game, we saw Vitello do something that he needed to do was, put Moore and Dickey in situations where they needed hits. Are you able to do this against a team like Notre Dame this weekend?
I think so. That's one of the other things that stands out. And Tony Vitello says the same thing about Notre Dame, that there is depth when it comes to specifically their pitching staff. And then you look at what Tennessee has. Not only do they have a number of options when it comes to who comes out of the bullpen, but they also have so many when it comes to players coming off the bench. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are 9 Vols that have double-digit home runs, and if one doesn't start, you've got up to 2 that could come off the bench and be available as pinch hitters. So I do think that when you have Jared Dickey, who thankfully is on a Dad Joke Friday getting back into the swing of things, I do think that he's somebody. He got a base hit in his lone at bat at the SEC tournament, had the big hit to start the 9th inning rally against Georgia Tech. I just think that Jared Dickey is a valuable resource, and you have him from the left side. If Blake Burke is your starter as the designated hitter, Christian Moore has been remarkable as a freshman with such huge hits. You've got him from the right side, and then you have even more options with a Kyle Booker, Christian Scott. You can just look at, there are a number of buttons for Tony Vitello to push if the first 1 or 2 happen to not work.